Evelynn has emerged as a popular pick in competitive play recently, and because she's a very unique jungler, I want to take a few minutes to discuss how to deal with her, because I feel like the majority of teams have shown a lack of knowledge in the matchup. When I think back to games where Evelynn was shut down, the first game that comes to mind in recent times is the CLG vs XDG game from week 7. From the spectator's point of view, it seems as though Xmithie did absolutely nothing in the first 16 minutes of the game, but it's really not his fault. CLG just played it extremely well. There are a few things you need to do in order to control an Evelynn. First, you have to pick a jungler that's able to duel Evelynn in the early stage of the game. You need a jungler that can invade the enemy's jungle and challenge Evelynn, because this is one of the few ways you can actually get vision of her. You also need lanes that can push early and support you in the enemy jungle if needed. Second, you have to get deep wards on their jungle camp so you can keep track of where she is. Normal warding patterns don't work versus Evelynn because she's invisible, so the only time you'll be able to spot her is when she's clearing her camps. Third, it helps to buy pink wards, but you have to make an effort to protect them. They aren't as necessary as you would think, but they do certainly help. Lastly, you need good communication as a team. Keeping track of Evelynn is the most important thing, and you have to constantly update your team on where Evelynn is and where she can be in the next 30 seconds. If there's a possibility of her being in your lane, then you need to play passive unless your jungler is setting up for a counter gank. No exceptions. So now that we know what we need to do against Evelynn, let's take a look into champion select. Both teams left open Lee Sin and Elise, which are, in my opinion, not only the two best junglers in the game, but also the two best junglers to play versus Evelynn. It's true that Lee Sin and Elise don't clear the jungle as quickly as Evelynn, but they are incredibly strong duelists and can duel Evelynn 1v1 even if they're a level behind. Against Evelynn, the name of the game is vision, and you want a jungler that can find Evelynn in her own jungle, duel her effectively, and most importantly, keep vision on her. Also, because her Nekton is banned, Shyvana is essentially a free pick for CLG. What I mean by that is that Shyvana will be able to push lane early against the rest of top lane champions that are open. CLG also picked Ziggs into Lulu, which is a fairly even matchup, but the important part is that Ziggs can clear waves quickly. So what CLG has is two lanes that can shove lanes quickly to roam to the enemy jungle to support Dexter if necessary. For what it's worth, they also have a Jinx Leona bot who can shove quickly as well, but bot lane isn't too relevant here anyway. For me, the Evelynn pick was extremely questionable by XDG because of these things, and you'll see how it all plays out during the game. Starting off at 1 minute and 30 seconds into the game, CLG's mid and bot lane move together to get a ward on XDG's red buff, which is actually really important. In a world where junglers getting no leash is relatively common, you simply can't afford to not know where Evelynn starts. For example, if Benny didn't leash for Xmithie and just stayed in top lane, there would be no tell as to where Xmithie started if CLG didn't get a ward on his red buff, and every lane would have to play incredibly passive through the early couple minutes. Now, you'll notice from the pathing in jungle that Xmithie is jungling faster than Dexter by nature of their champion picks, so because Doublelift and Aphromoo know that Xmithie can be bottom by 3 minutes, they're not making any attempt to push past the midpoint of the lane. This is unusual for bot lanes, but it's just another adaptation you have to make when you're playing against an Evelynn. They know that Dexter won't be able to support them yet, so they just want to play back until they get eyes on Evelynn. What I don't like from CLG is how after they decide to play passively, they suddenly make the call to go in about 40 seconds later when they still have no vision of Xmithie. Of course, the spectators know that he isn't there, but as far as CLG is concerned, he could be anywhere. It's already a bad trade for CLG's bot lane, but it would have been even worse if Xmithie happened to be there. Luckily, he wasn't there, and Dexter invades XDG's top jungle to get a deep ward in their jungle and finds Xmithie instead. This is good news for the rest of CLG because they get their eyes on Xmithie for the first time in 4 minutes, which allows every lane to play more aggressive. And just as I said at the beginning of the video, even though Dexter is level behind, he's still able to outtrade Xmithie. Dexter moves back into the enemy jungle to get a deep ward on the white camp because he knows that's the most likely place for Xmithie to go. Wards on jungle camps are the most effective way to get vision on Evelynn because the only time she's visible is when she's doing camps. Dexter is also looking to dive top here, but Benny sniffs it out and spots him with a ward. Plus, thanks to the ward that Dexter placed earlier, he already knew that Xmithie was doing the white camp anyway, so the dive became a pretty bad idea. However, this still gives vision of Xmithie to CLG, and because he's sitting at about 400 health at the top side of the map, they can assume that he's going to recall and won't be able to respond to anything in the other lanes for at least the next 40 seconds. This allows Link to shove his lane and run bottom with zero fear of a counter gank from Xmithie. Link picks up first blood in the bot lane because of this, and helps to turn around a lane that wasn't going so well for CLG. Take note of the pink ward purchases by CLG. One for Link, one for Aphromoo, and one for Dexter. I don't think that pink wards are particularly important versus Evelynn, but they are a bit of added security. At this point, it's been about 2 minutes since Xmithie was last spotted, and this is a very crucial moment for CLG. The first thing that happens is that Neon spots a ward getting placed in the river, which means that Xmithie has to be on the top side of the map. Because they get vision of Xmithie, it means that Link and Dexter are able to invade the bottom jungle without fear of Xmithie. They get a deep ward by Race, which allows CLG to spot Xmithie doing the Wraith camp, along with a deep pink ward by Red that will spot Xmithie running by the area. Dexter even clears out XDG's pink ward on his way out, which is nice, and Xmithie gives him vision of himself for reasons unknown. The ward at Race spots Xmithie running back to his topside jungle, which completely relieves pressure on the bottom side of the map for CLG, and allows Dexter to safely stop the pink ward kill from Sheep. CLG sees Mancloud run a blue buff at about 20% mana, which means Xmithie is obviously handing it off to him there, so CLG shoves out mid and bot lane and rushes a dragon for a pretty free dragon kill. Benny also blows his teleport for nothing, which allows Nian to get even further ahead in the top lane. The pink ward in XDG's jungle is spotted out by Smithy though, so CLG is going to lose track of him for a while, especially considering the pink at Dragon was cleared as well. Because CLG stalls the ward by Wraiths, they know that Smithy is likely to be either mid, bottom, or farming golems, because why else would he not be farming Wraiths? You can see this reflect completely in CLG's play. Link is playing on his tower and Rush Hour is playing way back in the lane, even checking the brush behind the tower to see if they're about to get dove. It's paranoia at this point for CLG, and they're just waiting for Dexter to get vision on Smithy again before they play aggressive. Dexter tries to gank on top, but it doesn't end up working out and he clears golems before backing. Smithy finds the pink ward in CLG's top jungle, and that's relatively okay. It's already paid for itself and it finally gives vision of where Smithy is. This allows the bot lane of CLG to play less scared, and you can see them move up in the lane slightly. Important thing to know is that just 30 seconds after the pink ward was destroyed, Dexter immediately places another one there to keep vision control of that area. Just like before, CLG shoves out mid lane before moving into XG's bottom jungle to get deep wards on their camps. They pressure mid lane to possibly try to draw Smithy to defend it, but they end up spotting him doing race anyway, and they also see him move towards the mid lane, which means he could be ganking mid or bottom in the near future. Because of this, you notice a few things happening. First, pings onto the pink ward in XDG's jungle signal that Link and Dexter want to go clear the pink ward and possibly try to find Smithy. Second, at the first sign of aggression from Sheep, Doublelift and Aphromoo immediately back off because they know that Smithy could be bottom. A misplayed pick on a Mancloud puts Dexter in a pretty bad position, denies the ward kill, and puts CLG in a pretty bad position in terms of knowing where Smithy is. Aphromoo roams down to help Link and Dexter clear the pink ward in XDG's jungle because they know that Dragon is spawning soon and they need vision inside of XDG's jungle to do it safely. The ward ends up getting cleared out by Smithy anyway, but at least they spot where he is. Blue buff is grabbed by Link, which allows him to poke XDG incredibly hard while they're taking the dragon, including a 4-man ultimate. Sheep gets caught in the wrong place and dies before ulting, Smithy gets chunked by Jinxel and Ziggs poke, Zuna is forced to net over the wall, and Benny's teleport is way too late. Obviously I'm not sure what the call from CLG was, but I'm sure it was something like, poke them off dragon, we can fight if Mundo doesn't TP. And because Mundo took so long to teleport, they just decided to go for it. I mean, I could make a whole video on what XDG did wrong in this situation because this was just a disaster for them, but honestly that doesn't really matter. CLG was in complete control of the situation and were 100% willing to trade the top tier 2 tower for dragon anyway. At the end of this fight, CLG gets 2 kills, a dragon, and 2 towers, and that's supposed to feed for XDG. At the end of the day, CLG got a huge lead by knowing how to control Evelynn and preventing Smithy from doing anything in the early game. Through champion picks, deep wards, pink wards, and communication, CLG was able to keep track of where Smithy was for most of the game, and if they didn't know where he was, they played passively in their lanes. I thought this would be an interesting thing to talk about considering the amount of Evelynn we've been seeing recently, so let me know if you guys would like to see more videos like this. As always, thank you all for watching, good luck in your games, and I'll see you all next time.